what kind of,
You're right. Okay. Good evening and thank you for coming to the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Today is November 19th, it's currently 7:03 in the evening, and I'll call the meeting to order. I would like to note for the record that excused this evening will be Tim Zygmunt, Steve Woolman, and John O'Brien. And we do have alternates, George Miller, Peter Zaragoza, and Steve Biella has reached out and says that he'll be here shortly. He's just running a little bit behind schedule. So in the meantime, I will ask Peter and George to be seated members for the commission this evening as well. Okay. On to the approval of the minutes for November 5th. Did we all have a chance to look at the minutes for the meeting, and do we have any comments, corrections, or approvals?
The only correction I had, Joan, is you actually seated me in your notes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, so noted. Any other corrections at this time? To approve with the recommendation. Okay, motion by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Rogan. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? So moved. On to the bond release request for Vincent Brescia for the bond release at 205 Christian Lane, Building E. And Maureen, what do we have on the bond release?
So we did get a report today from Deputy Director of Public Works, Jim Horble, and he inspected it and said it's fine for you.
Okay, it's
And
good to
there are
go.
no other outstanding concerns.
Okay, all right, Commission, any questions?
Make a motion to release the bond as requested.
Okay, motion by Ms. Jorsey. We have a second.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Rogan. We have further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Commissioner business, we have the discussion of certificate of occupancy request at 301 Berlin Turnpike. This is an item that we're continuing from November 5th. And
Hello?
that's the phone here. Go ahead.
Hello? First, we're in a meeting right now.
extra cheese?
It's for me.
Okay.
It's for me.
What?
That's fairly.
You know, it might have been something trying to get in and can't.
I would have said that, Carrie.
No, they would have. Did they say they were done? They just.
They just, no, I go, we're in a meeting right now. Okay, I'll call back.
Can you please go downstairs and make sure there's no
You
issue
can't
at the
get
door?
away.
Well, whatever, let's move on.
All right. Okay.
That was
All
odd.
right. Okay. Don't break my stride. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this certificate of occupancy.
So in your package, you got the letter from Mr. Kahid, engineer, and that's in your package.
Is this from
This
Samars?
is from CMARS Engineering,
Okay. Okay. So this is
and Mr. Khalid is on the line.
Oh, okay. Oh, hello. Hi. Welcome. All right. So this is for the Deming Road and the Berlin Turnpike. This is the gas station,
This is
right?
the gas station you
Okay.
saw last month, and we had the architectural plans. I can hand those back out. I think we have the steps. I didn't realize they weren't put at your desks.
Oh, that's all right.
With regard to that, you might recall that Commissioner Wallman asked for a statement with regard to the reasoning of changing the facade and the roof line treatment.
Yep.
Or the roof line. I did check the plans, the mechanicals were on the roof or were not on the ground, let's put it that way, in the original.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
they were
That was very important.
expected to be on the roof.
Okay.
Do you need these?
No, I think we can just kind of take a look over here. All right, and the other question I said is that you know, it obviously, they said that it's gonna be flat. I mean, we've taken care of drainage for snow and ice and rain and all the other good stuff, right?
Engineering, or rather the building department, and engineering would be looking at that, I think mostly the building department and building code to make sure that the slope of the roof for the drainage facilities on it would be okay.
Okay, all right, that's most important.
So this is the rear as you're coming up Deming Road, what you would see, and the other sides have the mats on. Other main change is that on the front, there were pillars originally, at the entrance. and
Yeah.
those are gone. Sorry, my fingers are-
No, that's.
I have a finger. I'm going to PT.
Take your time.
Is the way it looks now,
Yes,
and there were originally
like almost like
pillars coming
two
down.
columns or
Columns.
supports or whatever.
I'm sorry.
Well, I think that, questions? Questions? I think that pretty much addresses it. We just wanted to make sure, Mr. Khalid, that the plan was basically going in accordance with what was, suggested to the town. We wanted to make sure that everything was set, you know.
Thank you, Chairman. I really appreciate, ma'am, and we will make sure this thing don't repeat it again. And we appreciate this is a field condition that what engineer mentioned it, but it's somehow between COVID-19, this issue, the town situation, it was just like a little bit mistake won't happen again. I promise you. I appreciate your consideration and we appreciate your help, ma'am.
Right, no problem. I just want to make sure it was done the best job you can do. It's a beautiful building. It's definitely an improvement. And I'm very happy for you, and I'm sure that you'll have great success on that corner.
I appreciate, and the credit goes to the town and credit goes to the commission who help us to have this thing achieved. And we really, really appreciate from bottom of our heart, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so do we need a motion on this? Maureen?
I would like one that says it's fine as, or for administration, procedures, whichever.
All right, do we have a motion from the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of occupancy for 301 Berlin Turnpike.
Okay, terrific. We have the second, so it's Mr. Rogan and Ms. Jorsey. And further discussion or questions? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Okay, and then I'd like to add at this point, an item onto the agenda. This is for 1427 Berlin Turnpike. It's a discussion of the architectural elements on an existing building for a CO request. This is made by MC Barber Academy. This is, yes, hi, sir, and he's here in person. Oh my goodness, somebody in person, Yahoo. Maureen, do we have an update on where we are? I see a lot of activity, good positive things happening over there for you. And Maureen, do we have an update?
Yes, so I'm trying to pull up the,
Okay.
okay, so this plan actually, I ended up with my notes on it, so I'd really like to zoom out of those.
That's okay.
So that they're not part of this, but you might recall that the MC Barber went into a building that was previously a nightclub, and I don't know exactly what other businesses were there, restaurant, in the building in front of Sage Park, or Sage Ridge rather, that part of it burned, that's the back half of the building. They had come in with a proposed some architectural changes to move into the existing building. They had to move in, they had a special permit and a site plan approval for the use of the property as the Barber Academy and barbershop or salon. And it was approved back in September. They had proposed or shown on those plans this parapet roof that you see here. Not stucco, not on a couple of the sides. They had some stucco, but the back wall, the north wall, had stucco on only part of the building, not the whole thing. They put stucco on the entire back. That does face the woods onto the property of the north. It kind of faced northeasterly, so not to the Berlin Turnpike side. There were a change to the front door configuration and triangular shaped canopy, vaulted canopy going in front with pillars out front. And a change to the fenestration on the front door, although it's still all the same glass. It was just a little different configuration of it. They came in for their CO request and we noted that the changes weren't made. It was, what was proposed with the approval. At the same time, they weren't made. He has provided a letter. It starts with your name at the top. You have that in your packages. That explains why. In quick summary, a portion of that reason is that the designs were done by an architect that they severed their relationship with, it sounds like pretty early in the process, not having gotten design drawings with regard to the changes, and would like to be up and running before they do further improvements to the property. They also proposed not to make any changes to the parking lot. They started work on the parking lot in order to repave it, but they haven't done that yet. They're hoping to get up and running and then get their business going, as he indicated in his letter. Again, he is here to speak to you if you like, but we didn't want to sign off on the CO request because there are changes from what he said.
Okay, would you like a chance to address the commission?
Yes,
Yes,
so.
just,
Sorry.
So what happened is that we hired an architect that made a drawing, but 4 months into it still hadn't produced a blueprint on how to do this. And we were actually originally aiming to open back in September. So we basically end up just leaving the skylight as is and didn't go forth with doing the metal roof over the skylight we were originally planning to. And we didn't build the design that he made on the top of the building at this time. We didn't really change much of the front of the property with the exception of opening the door. But we didn't go with what he planned for us since he never produced blueprint for it. As for the parking, the parking actually is paved today, so if you like to go and look at it, you are more than welcome. So we did that as well. We had some cars that were parked in the back of the parking, that was removed as well. I'm not sure if the lady has gone. So basically, we told in the original plan that they did present that we are doing stucco on the back of the building since the stucco was already there. And the side of the wall that was burned, we had to rebuild and put the stucco on it as well. We had called the town of Berlin at least 20 times, and John Mesha was coming down all the time. So if we did some things that we did not supposed to, like putting the stucco on the back, honestly, we were not aware of it since John was coming almost every week. I'm sure she knows. And he never told us. They were telling us that we were doing good. John was there, the marshal was there, the health inspector was there. So honestly, we tried to cooperate the best we could. If we had made some mistake along, I apologize.
when we're talking about John, who are we talking about?
John is our building inspector,
Okay.
one of the building inspectors who goes to the, every time they do anything, the building inspector goes.
Yeah.
They're really not equipped to, inspect for the things the commission sees or doesn't see. And I'm sorry if I was misunderstood at all. I think I'm bringing this to you because it is an existing building, or rather, one of my views on it is it's an existing building and they got approval for the use. And these were upgrades they were proposing as opposed to and I'll compare it to the 301 that you just looked at, where they proposed a new building of a certain design and built something different. These entities just didn't change as they had hoped they would. So I don't see them as being comparable, but at the same time, if you drove up the turnpike and you knew what you approved and saw that it wasn't done, I felt that was your decision to make, not the staff decision to make on whether the changes were acceptable at this time.
So really,
So-
the changes or the differences are not that extreme. I gather that he's pretty much just following currently what the building was. He just sort of revamped that existing building
Yes, ma'am.
and you brought it up to speed and brought it out to a better product than what it was before.
Right.
So
But they-
really not changing the footprint in any way.
The footprint's not changing. The parapet was designed presumably to screen the mechanical, because it's in roughly the place right behind the mechanical, but the mechanical that they put on the building is actually considerably smaller than the mechanical that was there that got stolen from the building.
Yep.
While they were working on the building, they have replaced it was a glass roof over the door and over the vestibule type area that is your lobby
Yes,
now, I
it's a
guess.
skylight, it's a glass,
And-
and it remained,
and
we
they-
just honestly, fixed it.
Yeah.
We
Updated.
called the glass company and they had recaulked the whole,
Yeah,
window
did
since. With everything that's happening in COVID, and I'm not using it as an excuse, but honestly, it was a difficult year to build anything.
Yeah,
And we just end up just fixing the glass, and if it doesn't hold up next year, we'll have to probably go with that plan.
I also want to note that they have, since my initial conversation and putting them and having them bring this to you and noticing all the differences, have considerably cleaned up the trash in the property, and obviously if they paid, when I drove by a day or two ago, they were physically pulling the cars that were there out. A lot of the other
It was actually
junk
done
garbage was well.
today, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but the parking was done today. We have not put the stripes yet, but the parking is finished, you are more than welcome to look at it. We honestly improved the property tremendously, I wish we actually had pictures of inside. I mean, it looks like the place should be in Manhattan, not in Berlin.
And they do have a Connex style container that they were using to store their materials, that you may have noticed on the site. It's pretty obvious, it had some painting on the side. We from our office agreed, and the zoning officer, that the removal of that would be within the time frame of the violation of having it. So they can move into the building with all the stuff that's in it.
yeah.
So they are on schedule, they have a different schedule to remove that, under zoning.
Right, commissioners, questions?
I just remind everybody that building was in a fire.
Yeah,
Substantially damaged, so I think you've done a tremendous job bringing it back from the eyesore it was. I'm glad you mentioned the story, because it's got quite the mural or whatever graffiti on it, so that doesn't really fit in place, so.
okay,
You've done a
terrific.
good job.
Anyone else, Peter?
Yeah, I'd second it. I was actually by there yesterday. And the property looks great. And I remember when it burned down, or not burned down, but damage to it. So yeah, I mean, who does?
Do we need a motion or anything?
No, you could just be fine with it. The changes are not, part of the, are not required for the CO.
Okay, all right, terrific. So we just give you our blessing, I guess. Tell
Well, thank you so much, I
Have a
really
good
appreciate
evening.
it. I hope to see you over there.
Oh, yeah. You trying to say I need a haircut?
No, but at the grand opening.
Oh, the grand opening, oh, yes. Oh, hey now, yeah, we'll go to the grand opening. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's good. Then we're gonna, wait, I'm just gonna. Wait for Warren to do some business. Okay, on to the new business. We have a site plan amendment from of Bart Bove, authorized agent for Sliders Bar and Grill for an addition of a new outdoor seating area and adjustment of parking. Mr. Bove.
Thank you so much, I really
Have a good
appreciate
evening.
it.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you, thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Yeah, you take your muffler off.
Don't spit all over myself.
Yeah.
Bart Bove, I'm the agent for, the Sliders project on 197 Episcopal Road. I don't know if wants to pop it up for.
I'm trying.
Troy? There we go. It's easier to see. It's a rather simple project. The Sliders is an existing non-conforming building with every respect with regard to use, location, side yards, front yards. I looked at the assessor's card that had the building being built in 1940. I think it predates you.
As far as I can understand.
But the proposal is to take the front of the area in front of the entrance and build a small patio, outdoor patio area. The patio would be enclosed by a small block retaining wall and then screened in the front with a black stockade fence, vinyl stockade fence, and then on the sides with a 3-foot high stockade fence. They're proposing 28 seats, 7 tables, 4 each, located, there we go, located within the footprint. You can see the building and you can see the patio area to the lower right-hand side. We are not proposing any additional seats at this time. Any additional seats gained would be taken from the inside of the building, so we're not increasing any proposed parking. There were 5 diagonal spaces on the south side of the building, then another 5 between the building and the roadway. We are proposing to leave those 3 spaces along the roadway and construct 7 spaces, including the 2 lost handicap spaces in front of the building on the south side. The aisle is luckily wide enough so we have enough room to accommodate those 90-degree spaces opposed to those angle spaces. And there's enough room between the curb cut and the handicap spaces to allow safe movement of vehicles passing through. Maureen has some staff comments. There's 6 of them in fact. The first 2 I think we've identified and revised the plans already with regard to the identification of lot block and map number, and we put a zoning chart on the lower portion of the plan. The other comments regarding the additional liquor license amendment, the health department comments, emergency lighting for the fire marshal's comments, the seating comment about increasing the parking and nonconformity, and any additional steps we got no problems with and would comply with any of those consent to any of those comments. Again, it's a rather simple request. We're not adding any more seats with the COVID restrictions. We're just looking to add some additional seats on the patio. They've tried different scenarios, but this seems to be somewhat more permanent and a little more better than whatever they had used before. So, and I think the location of the handicap spaces also works well with the entrance too, because it puts the handicap spaces right by the entrance. So it's a lot closer. We would ask the commission to approve this. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Yes,
I
George.
was just a little, not confused, but concerned about the seating, existing proposed, I mean, adding 80 seats outside and saying we're gonna reduce seats, so can you explain a little bit the phase we're in now with COVID and then post-COVID, once the
Post-COVID, the post-COVID, they're gonna have to make a decision about that, but right now, we're just asking for the reduction of the seats inside.
so are they actually removing tables from
They're
inside?
gonna be removing seats, they have removed seats anyway with the restrictions, and I'm sure those tables will either be used outside for the time being, or they'll get new tables, but they'll be removing tables from the existing facility.
It's just that the concern would be, given the configuration, and I added 7 tables outside, a nice new space, and then go into post-COVID mode. Now it's so easy to put those 7 tables inside, nobody even knows. Now you're up to your capacity by 28C.
That's not the intent, and
I know,
that's part of the
but I guess what
conditions.
kind of
That's part of the
assurances are
condition.
there?
That's part of the conditions that Helen, or not, I'm sorry, Rita brought up. And we have no problem doing that, and when the time comes that the conditions change, they've got to make a decision what to do, whether they go for the variance and do all the other things that have to be done, but to get this approved at this time, it's just a lot easier with the COVID restrictions now and the loss of seating. They'll move this through and then they'll make a decision at that time, but I appreciate your concern, George, and
The other two
Staff is-
concerns, a couple of concerns would be, it is in a, there are houses in that area, it's out in the front, so there'd be restrictions in terms of any outdoor entertainment, music. Is the lighting relatively subdued, not shining into people's yards, things like that?
I think the proposal is, we're not proposing any outdoor entertainment or anything out there. The screening should take care of most of the light coming from the tables and stuff. We have no problem if the commission wants to condition it adequately, screening the lights and directing the lighting towards the facility. We've got no problem with that.
And the last consideration, are they planning to do any outside heating there?
I'm sure if this patio was used during the winter months, they'd probably have some type of outdoor seating, heating, and all that. But those are usually portable and we move around table for that.
Sure, any considerations from a fire department perspective, locations where they would be?
Yeah, we probably have to look at that if they go that route, because that
I mean,
is
it's
a,
not that big an area, so.
yeah, but it's also a older building. So it would be a concern, we wouldn't wanna have any heaters that are being close to the to the actual building itself, especially since you're blocking.
Yeah. I'm sure there are already regulations in place,
Yeah.
but we'll make sure we comply with all that.
Okay, I have a question if I may, the 12-foot, I'm sorry, the height of the wall is gonna be a 12-foot block wall,
It's gonna be 12 inches wide.
12 inches.
Wide, so they're just gonna put a wall that kind of define the space along the front and the side. You can see it, it kind of goes about all the way across the street
Yeah,
side,
sorry,
about
from here.
halfway on the south side of the
Is
building.
what will be the height of that wall?
I think it's like only like 3 feet, it's just.
Okay, so it's just gonna be 3 feet.
Right, you're not gonna see it when they put the 3-foot fence in there and screen it. But it's just to kind of define that space so people aren't basically sitting up against the fence.
And this will not interfere with the entrance into the actual restaurant facility?
Nope. Not at all. In fact, there's even some landscaping that's proposed on the south side of the fence. Kind of screen that little fence, so it's not gonna be just a solid piece of fence.
So I imagine that if they go forward with this, they're abandoning what they have right now, which is to the rear of the building?
I think that's already been.
That's, well, I know with the bad weather, yeah. It would be better, well,
Right, this
nature
is a
removed it with
little
the
more
last one.
permanent solution.
Okay. All right, yes, Maureen?
If I can kind of explain where we are with the process of outdoor seating right now for restaurants. At this point, any of the restaurants that have added outdoor seating are allowed to by executive order, and that's why the area in the rear was allowed by executive order. There in any of our businesses, as long as they kind of get the sign off from the departments, it's not even actually, they just have to comply with the executive orders and the DPH's guidelines and DECD's guidelines for it. They do come to us, they show us the plan, we route it to fire marshal, building department, and the police department to make sure, it's safe. That's where you'll see a couple of the outdoor activity places may have like barrels to buffer their area. That's allowed by executive order at this point. This particular applicant had explained to me that the rear seating area was so far from the kitchen, it's really not practical and was difficult to orchestrate. And they have been looking for a more permanent solution for some time. Their original solution was up along Episcopal Road, which I steered them away from because of proximity to traffic. This proposal and any use of the space would require the proper permits and Department of Public Health, or not Department, CCHD for their food licensing, as well as the fire marshal and the building inspector going out to check for the safety concerns, including if they had heaters or what have you. And if they choose to have permanent outdoor liquor service there because it becomes a permanent patio, they would have to go to the zoning board of appeals to extend their liquor permit to an outdoor space. Which per the executive order, the
Yeah.
allowance now is different.
Yes,
But to make it permanent, they would have to do that, and typically at the ZBA for location approvals for outdoor patios, they have a discussion whether there should be a limit to the hours or something like that when they review those plans. If, close the patio by 10 PM, close it by 11 PM, what have you. So we're trying to look at that, or rather, the review of this is in the absence of the COVID world. This is permanent as opposed to something temporary.
so will restaurants who are putting on these additions or these outside seating areas, if they decide after COVID's all said and done, if they decide to continue with it, do they then come back to this commission
Yes.
for a permanent review? Okay, so then we'll have another bite at the apple, so to
But
speak.
not on this one. This one is asking for that permanent review at this time. So they end up with outdoor seating, much like Tavern on the Tracks has. They got an approval for an outdoor patio. This one will be, they're asking for that outdoor patio approval with it, in this application, permanent.
The only difference would be if we propose to increase seating or keep the additional seating indoor, then we'd have to come back to this, perhaps to jump through hurdles before we came back to this commission. Quite like.
I think because Commissioner Miller just raised some interesting points with lighting, and you do have that neighborhood across the way.
Yep.
And I know it's gotta be, it'll be sensitive for them, especially since they deal with sliders now, but they're used to having the patio to the rear. And now if we move it up, then it becomes a question that it might have an impact on them. So lights, activity, outdoor music, just conversation during the summer could impact them as well. So I think that
I
be a
think those are
consideration.
reasonable concerns, and I would have no problem. The commission, decide, putting a condition on that, lighting be shielded, limited, noise, site, no entertainment. That kind of.
Okay. That might help us out. What about the rest of the commissioners? Questions? Any other questions? No. So you guys have a notion to make a motion on that, or?
Yeah, it's a site plan.
Yep, okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the site plan amendment with staff comments and the condition that the light be shielded and the very outdoor entertainment and in regards to respecting the neighbors.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so we have the motion by Mr. Rugger, we have a second by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have further discussion? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank
So
you very
moved.
much.
Okay, good night and good luck. And
Thank you.
it's a longstanding establishment, so it's good to see
Clark.
growing. All right, next up is the regulatory.
Yep.
Okay, site plan amendment of Benjamin Tripp, 833 Deming Road, LLC, amendment to an existing approval granted on August 20th, 2020 for Deming Ridge Workforce Housing Development. The proposed property will contain 11 residential structures and a clubhouse. Okay.
Just good, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Ben Tripp, with Metro Realty Group, I'm here with Andrew Goralski, who is a engineer planning. And so I'm just gonna give you a quick introduction to sort of why we're back here relatively soon after our recent approval just a couple months ago. So, as you're likely aware, because this is workforce housing, the successful development of this project requires us working with CHFA and Department of Housing to secure financing for the project. The apartments that were designed and approved just a couple of months ago are identical to a project that we had developed with CHFA in Louisville, Connecticut. The project is probably about 10 years old now, and the design standards have changed since that time. Going into this, we knew there had been some modifications to the design standards, but our preliminary conversations with CHFA suggested that because it was already an apartment that had been approved and well received, there may be some flexibility in some of these design standards. Specifically, the design standard we're talking about is the requirement for a dining area. It doesn't have to be a dining room, but a specific dining area with measurements that are 42 inches from the nearest wall for a table that would be at least 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet. So they're very specific in what they require within an apartment. Now, our apartment does not accommodate, or did not accommodate. So there were ways that perhaps we could have redesigned the apartment to accommodate that, but it would be sacrificing other elements, the size of the kitchen, the size of a bedroom, that we have found is very important to the successful leasing of our properties. And because 80% of the property we are anticipating will be in market rate and not income restricted housing, we felt it was critical to keep those parts of the apartment consistent with what we've been delivering to the market in our other recent projects. So as a result, that's led to an increase in the overall size of the apartment so that we can accommodate this required dining space. We achieved this, and Andrew can walk you through some of the details on how we achieved this. But we achieved it by bumping out the back of the building a number of feet, and by doing so, we were able to accommodate the additional space that's required based on these new CHFA procedures without needing to amend any of the other elements of the text amendment that was approved at the last meeting. So that the apartment sizes are still within the regulation for the workforce housing zone. The building distances, the setbacks, everything adheres to the recently amended workforce housing development text. But it just, the apartments had to grow. There's no additional apartments, there's no change in the mix between 1 and 2 bedrooms. So that's the change in the building size. That's one part of the site plan modification. The other part is the addition of the clubhouse. It's another CHFA design standard requirement. So the CHFA design standards are publicly available. If anyone has interest, they're available on the CHFA.org website. But for workforce housing developments, they specifically require common space. Our intent is to develop the space as a fitness center. We have found that in our developments, the fitness component of a common space is always the most highly utilized. We've got plenty of open space clubhouses that tend to, although they are more heavily utilized on the senior housing, age-restricted housing, on the workforce housing side, they're very rarely used. And so our goal is, and again, this is a point that we hope to, CHFA will have some flexibility on that. Our goal is to have that be a fitness center with a male and female. Again, it's just under the 1,500 square foot maximum size that's stipulated in the zone. So again, no additional modifications to the text of the zone are required, just a few minor site plan alterations. So with that, if you have any questions for me or any specific site-related questions for Andrew.
So what you're saying is that the footprint for the building will be increased by how many feet is it gonna be pushed out?
The buildings were expanded in the rear by approximately 5 feet each.
Overall, so the whole back of the building.
The back of the building.
The total
Back
depth of the
5
building,
feet.
5 feet long.
Thank you. All right, that was the question.
Okay.
Oh, Diane, did you have something?
No, I,
I have one, I guess
Oh, okay.
it also mentions that the rear yard and side yard are being reduced, what abuts those?
So it's mostly Eversource property, you know, on the, what is that?
The west.
The west side of the site is, it's a training facility for Eversource, they've got telephone poles that are. And then to the north is that part of Cold Spring Farm property?
It's kind of.
So there's no residential or
I'm just gonna dovetail on George's question. Is there I believe there was an existing buffer, a tree line buffer back there. Is that being
so there's
encroached on or not?
there's still a 25-foot rear setback for the site, and we're you have the
So we still tie into grade as fast as possible behind the rear building, and we still provide at least that 25-foot setback buffer for vegetation
Okay,
to block out that neighboring property.
okay, thank you. Is that it for questions right now? Okay. Yep. Anything else you wanna share with us or?
Can I just point out that I brought up the aerial view, and Ben can probably, I think am I circling the
Yeah.
entire
so
parcel
you
right
can see
now?
the 3 parcels.
It's
Yeah,
this
exactly.
parcel,
Yeah.
this parcel, and this parcel.
Correct.
And here is the training facility for Eversource. This is Cold Spring Farm, oops, sorry, Eversource. This is Cold Spring, is that what the name is? I think so. I'm not sure, I think these are residential, but they might be part of the farm. I'm not sure. You'll recall you did have the comment with the previous hearing, and I did suggest that all the comments be carried over from the previous approval, should you choose to approve this, that you had gotten a letter from them stating that they exist as a farm adjacent to this property. Pointed out that it's there. If it's zoomed in and out enough, can you see it there? Because it really doesn't look as good as it looks on my screen.
I just wanna make sure that the buffer that is between Eversource and Cold Springs Farm is not gonna disappear.
No, we still have the 125 rear setback, that is not going to be.
I just wanna make sure that no kids or something decide to go running through the cornfields at Cold Spring during the summer or something. I wanna make sure that, you know,
Okay.
it's kept
That's a tough one to stop.
Well, I know, but I mean, if we have the buffer,
Yes,
buffer still
it's our
there,
intention to
vegetation.
maintain a real buffer between all the
Yeah.
surrounding properties, I think for our benefit as well, particularly on the other Eversource side.
Have you thought about calling it like something other than workforce housing, something like young professional housing? I don't know, I've said this to Maureen before,
I mean,
it
so
brings so many.
I refer to it as
Dickinson,
I refer to it as workforce housing just because that's the name of the zone, the town's name, and so I suppose that the town wants to change the name of the zone.
I don't know, look at young professionals or something. Starter professionals or starter, I don't know, something, but okay.
CHFA typically refers to it as it's sometimes workforce, I mean, it's just one of those kind of buzzwords that, you know, out of my hands.
Anyway,
We will not market it, we will probably market it as young professional housing, so in terms of having for that.
Any other questions or feedback on?
What exactly
The
is young
adjustment.
professional?
I don't know, again, it's another one of those buzzwords.
It's a buzzword as opposed to
Well, I'm not a cool kid,
workforce
so I wanna know
I keep
what
thinking of
cool kids
Dickens, I
talk
keep thinking, you know, like Scrooge and Cole and I just have a workforce housing, it just sounds so dark
It
and
does sound utilitarian,
and
yeah.
it just sounds,
What? You know what that means?
what?
Trying to find a cool kid, that's all.
I'm just trying to
Young
find something,
professional.
put a positive spin on it, you know, it sounds. Anyway, all right, but going back to the project itself, Mr. Viola, do you have any questions?
I got plenty, but I'll leave it alone for now.
Are you sure? Because
Okay.
here's your chance to
I like it.
help us out. All right. So, anyone else? No one? Okay, all right, so, do we need a motion on this? Oh, okay.
For the record, I would just like to state, and I don't know if Mr. Tripp perhaps did, but that the inland wetlands did approve the modifications on November 10th.
Okay,
So that has been completed. You may make a motion.
all right.
You're not precluded from making a motion
Okay.
because they
You may
didn't
make
do
a
it.
motion. Does anyone have a motion for a motion?
I have a notion to make a motion to approve the proposed modifications for this plan.
Do we have a second?
Can we add to that, bringing forward the conditions of approval from the,
We're just, absolutely, the conditions of approval from the prior approval are continued with this motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. A second, okay. Further discussion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening and happy Thanksgiving. Hearings now. And do we have a call for the public hearing that we need to read?
We do.
Okay, Mr. William, you're on.
Town of Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission notice of public hearings. The Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission will hold its regular meeting on Thursday, November 19th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in person in the Town Council Chambers, Berlin Town Hall, 240 Kensington Road, Berlin, Connecticut. The public will also be able to access and participate in the meeting via WebEx video conference and conference call as provided below. Therefore, the public may attend the meeting in person via WebEx video conference or via telephone conference call. Please note, the agenda and all meeting materials related to the agenda items which will be distributed to the commission will be posted on the town's website at www.town.berlin.ct.us and will be available for viewing 24 hours prior, during, and after the meeting. Members of the public are encouraged to submit materials relevant to the applications no later than 12 p.m. on Wednesday, November 18th, 2020 for posting prior to, during, and after the meeting. The following public hearings will be held, at which time an opportunity will be given to those who wish to be heard relative to the following applications. A, re-subdivision application of Pierre Bennerup of 2-lot subdivision at 1829 Orchard Road, map 21-4, block 115, lot 10. B, special permit application of Deming Road Business Park for 7,500 square foot building on a rear lot for contractor shop use, map 10-1, block 83, lot 3A, Deming Road, continued from October 15, 2020. C, special permit application of Deming Road Business Park for a 3,606 square foot building for contractor shop use, map 10-1, block 83, lot 3A1, Deming Road, continued from October 15, 2020. D, special permit application of Deming Road Business Park for 6,750 square foot building for contractor shop use at map 10-1, block 83, lot 3A2, Deming Road, continued from October 15, 2020. E, special permit application of Deming Road Business Park for a 9,000 square foot building, continued from October 15th, 2020. F, special permit / site plan applications of Thomas O'Rourke Military Experience Museum Incorporated for Military Experience Museum at 76 Chamberlain Highway, map 30-2, block 74, lot 37, and 0 Chamberlain Highway, 0 Chamberlain Highway, map 30-2, block 74, lot 39, continued from September 3rd, 2020. Brian Rogan, Secretary of Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Okay, so on to the public hearings. We have item A is the re-subdivision application of Pierre Bennerup for a 2-lot subdivision at 1829 Orchard Road, map 21-4, block 115, lot 10. And we have Mr. Bennerup here to address the commission, I guess. And I think Maureen is trying to bring the stuff up. Okay.
Pierre Bennerup, 1829 Orchard Road. I'd like to keep this brief as possible. I bought the house in 1972 on a 1-acre lot in a 1-acre zone. about 2 years later, I bought 5/6 of an acre to the north side of the house. And then a few years later, I bought a 25-foot strip, about 280 feet deep, to complete the acre so that I had an acre on which the house is located and an acre next to the house, which I had gardened and I've used, okay? But the object, I think it's fairly clear, especially, I spent quite a lot of money buying a skinny 25-foot lot. I think it's fairly clear. My purpose was to have a separate lot. At some point, unbeknownst to me, but I'm old and I forget things, but at some point that lot was joined to my lot and it became a 2-acre lot in a 1-acre zone. There was no logical reason why I ever wanted that, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it was done for the convenience of the taxes, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but that's what was done. I have a buyer who wants to buy the house and the 1 acre. They are a young couple. They don't want to bite off more than they can chew. So I'm offering the one, I'm assuming that we can get the split, which I'm requesting. I'm offering the 1 acre and basically a lease on the other acre if they want it on a monthly basis with the right option to buy. But if they don't take that up, or if they don't complete it to the option, I would want the option of being able to sell the lot. At this point, I'm not a developer. I have no interest in developing the lot in any other way than that. But I don't want to preclude the possibility of being able to sell a lot, depending on how circumstances develop. Basically, I've been looking to retire for about 20 years and I haven't quite been able to do it. And selling the house has been much more difficult than I thought. And it's not your problem, but it's my problem. And I'm trying to solve it in a fairly simple way, which shouldn't be difficult. I know that if it is developed for housing, you have to have obviously a building permit, whatever. There's a septic, so there's got to be site plan for that. I know all of that. I don't see that that's my obligation. If in fact it turns out that it is sold for development, that should be, in my opinion, the obligation of the developer. There's also a fence that has to be moved in closer from the road. It's currently close to the road. All of which will be done if and when that condition or that circumstance arises. As of now, basically, I just want the lot to be split off the way it was intended to be. And if there's any reason or explanation why it was joined together, I am not aware of it, but perhaps there was a reason. And as I say, I'm old and I forget things, so maybe it did tell me, but I don't remember that. It just certainly is contradictory to whatever my obvious intent was. There's a degree of urgency here because the young couple has sold their house and has to move out. I have to move out of my house within exactly a month from today. So unless we get your approval to agree for this split, it's going to be a very painful thing for me. So throwing myself on the mercy of the courts. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, just to verify, so the overlaying zone is an R43?
Yes.
Okay, so we have an R43 zone, so Mr. Benterup is the owner of 2 acres within the R43. And so what I'm hearing is that he's looking just to subdivide that 1 lot. And so it would be you would just be creating another building lot within the allowed zone.
That's 1 acre.
I'm sorry, my staff report said R42.
No,
I messed it up.
We know that doesn't exist.
Right.
Alright. And this other lot, if you're successful in creating this subdivision, it would still be it would not be adjoined to the other property that you own. That is,
That's correct, yes.
so it would be basically a freestanding 1 acre building.
Correct.
Commission.
Just have a couple of questions.
Okay, go, Ms. Dorsey.
With the proposed lot, will either of the two individual lots be non-conforming in any way? Or they will both conform with the zone?
No, the lot where the house is totally conforming, the other lot will.
And could you clarify, you mentioned something about the septic. Does the septic go onto what's the proposed second lot?
The septic would have to be an engineered septic on the second lot. There's another possibility which I would have to get approved by probably the Water and Sewer Commission. There is a septic line between, which I approved, between Tyler Equipment and Tollgate Road, which runs across the rear of the 1 acre, which I'm asking to have separated. It's about 130 feet away. It is downhill. There is a possibility, which I haven't even checked out, but there is a possibility that rather than doing an engineered septic system, that if a house gets built there, that could be connected into that line. Now, I haven't gone any further on that because I have no idea whether that's what's going to happen. I really hope that the young couple that's buying the house will agree to a proposal that I am offering them. That, I don't know. So, yes, if that is not approved, that approach to that sewage line is not approved, which would require approval. I own the property, but it would require approval, of course, of water and sewer, of which I was once chairman, by the way. That's another story.
But my question has more to do with the existing house.
Yeah.
So the existing house, whatever septic and utilities are affiliated with that house are contained on the lot that would be that 1 acre lot. They don't extend.
That's true. They would have to do, if it gets sold as a developed a house, whatever, they would have to connect with water. They would have to do their own septic system. Yes. Does that answer your question?
The current,
Pierre?
his current septic system is on his own piece of property. That
Oh,
septic
yeah,
system
that's
doesn't
true.
go
Oh, there's
onto
no
the-
septic on that property.
Okay, that answers.
Just because we have minutes that are being kept, so can I just have you identify yourself for the
Mary,
record?
Mary Jean Agostini, Remax, Right Choice, agent for Pierre Benera and Cheryl Benera.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, all right. Yes, Maureen.
On that point, the original plan submitted showed that, or indicated it would hook up to public water and sewer, which prompted the comment that Health District made the comment regardless, the new lot would require their review and approval prior to permitting, but that or their review and approval, but because it said that it had public water and sewer and we found it did not, I added that note about the need for the private utilities. Again, as he stated, there is, I believe the line that he's talking about is behind here on, you might remember we were discussing this lot last time for a possible development, and I believe there's a line.
Now,
Any other questions?
the other question I have is that line that you said that runs from Taylor or whatever,
Tyler Equipment.
Tyler down to Tollgate,
Right.
does that cut across the new lot at all? Does that encroach?
No, not at all. It is behind the new lot,
But it's
but
not,
I have a right of way used to go to connect.
You can,
yeah,
if
but,
I may,
okay,
you can
yes,
see, I just pulled it up on the screen.
all right, yes.
This is the sewer line that goes through the property,
Oh, I
that
see.
is in the same ownership at this time, behind this lot, and we did not staff-wise did not explore whether
Yeah.
that was an option.
Because there's not sewer and water on Orchard Road there. So
There's water, but
it's
not sewer.
There's
There's
water
water, yes. There's a main line, it's an 8-inch line.
there?
That was built well after my house, so I, sort of grandfathered in. I operate on a well, which is right by my
Yeah.
house.
Okay,
There,
all right.
that just came up in blue on your screen. On the screen up here. This is the water line, the green, the sewer. This is the lot.
It's a main line, it's either 8 or 12 inches. The main line from the Burn Turnpike down to the corner of Colgate Road. Right.
Now, I know that, and this is just a question, so I keep this straight in my head. Block number 115, which is outside of your 2-acre parcel right now,
Yes.
is that also owned by you currently?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just wanna make sure because I think there's something where you get you get one cut and then the second cut is two separate properties.
So I may explain?
Yes.
That in your package, you see that there's map number 1507. And behind that is map number 717. 717 was the subdivision map I found that created the lot his house is situated on. That was 150 feet wide. He then spoke of compiling additional lots adjacent to it. I believe that happened with lot 1507 when he acquired probably a portion of this lot 20A that is next door. I don't know what that was from originally, but that got added to his 150 feet of frontage. He added the 125 feet by that action by the commission in 1979. And then got an additional 25 feet so that he has enough to create another building lot. So because the subdivision, map 717 was the original subdivision, there might have been a free split off that way before 1963 or sometime before 1963, but this was the subdivision. So any further splitting, which is what he's doing now, prompts the re-subdivision.
Okay.
Which, and I might add that, in the staff report, you'll also see that, you need to, the commission needs to approve a waiver of open space if that's what he's requesting, for the open space requirement not to be, required.
Okay, may I ask a question, because I'm this idea of the one split rule. That happened before I ever owned this property, but is that like forever? I mean, if somebody has a farm and splits it once and somebody buys half the farm, they're no longer allowed to split it again? Is that the way it runs? That doesn't make sense.
You're only allowed the one free cut off of it since zoning was established. So zoning being established in 1944, the first, I always explain to people, and it's kind of an archaic way, maybe a little chauvinistic, but the oldest son gets his one piece, and then any further division of the property, any time after zoning has been established, creates a subdivision.
Right. No matter who the owners were originally.
No matter who, as long as, once you have that first filed subdivision map, or the first free split, actually, once you have the first free split, then anything beyond that becomes either a subdivision or the further re-subdivision.
Well, then I have to request that you overlook that rule. It seems a little harsh to me.
Oh, no,
I would like to
you're
say-
allowed to come in, you came in for the right application
Yeah.
Okay.
in that regard.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, it doesn't mean you can't make it
No.
smaller, ever.
Okay. All right.
That's not what we wanted to apply. All right, commissioners, any questions on this?
If I may.
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
don't-
Ms. Dorsey.
I don't have any questions. I think it saddens me to see the property split because you've made such a beautiful property. I understand the need. And the garden and everything that you've built on that extra parcel just goes so beautifully with your home. But
Well, I thank you, Diane. I wish I were a little younger so I could, continue to do it, but the whole thing has got to be too much for me.
sure,
We need to downsize. It's too big a house. It's just too less.
every time I drive by your home, I think what a beautiful inn it would make.
Yeah.
Well,
So, but I don't have any other questions.
I would like to make one more comment. It is really urgent that this get, I will lose a customer otherwise, so I'd like to make a decision.
Well, I think that's why we're just trying to cross the Ts and dot the Is here. I just wanna make sure the commission's good. And we are in a public hearing. So is there anyone from the public who wishes to address this commission regarding this application? Now would be the time to speak. Okay, none. So commission,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
okay,
I'll second that motion.
all right. Further discussion, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. And next up, we have the site plan, special permit site plan application of Richard Munson, Glenwood Road Business Park LLC for a building on each of 4 existing lots or related site improvements. And underneath that, we have 4 items. Just sort of, do you want to lump them together and just have the whole package? So do I need a motion from the commission to lump them all together?
I will make a motion to lump them together.
Thank you. Okay, so Ms. Joyce is, further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. All right, so we're just gonna deal with that one application instead of piecemeal, okay?
I do have one
All right.
letter
Okay,
for later.
okay, one letter from Lynn. Okay. You're on.
Good evening. Attorney Timothy Sullivan on behalf of the applicant, Deming Road Business Park LLC, Richard Munson is a sole member. We did a full presentation last time at the October 15th public hearing. The public hearing was kept open because we were awaiting our inland wetlands, excuse me.
You know what,
I can't hear them.
it'd be better if you took the mask off, I'll be honest. Oh, okay, as long as everybody around you is okay and we far enough.
We got
Go
6
ahead,
feet, that's
Tim.
the important thing.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not sure how far I got, but we completed the presentation last month. The commission couldn't close the public hearing. Tradition doesn't close the public hearing on the wetlands application is pending. We received an inland wetlands approval on November 10th. So we're looking to go forward tonight. This is for map 10-1, block 83, lots 3A, 3A1, 3A2, and 3A3 on Deming Road as depicted on the site plan. This is directly adjacent to the New Britain landfill. There was an approval that the applicant received 5 years ago. The exact same plans are being submitted. 5 years ago, we did a subdivision. We've got a special permit for 2 rear lots. The subdivision remains alive. The 2 rear lots remain alive. We posted an erosion control bond. The only thing that we're back for is for the 4 lots being approved for the small contractor, under the small contractor provisions of zoning regulations. That's 7C3E. Like I said, this was approved unanimously by the commission 5 years ago, and unfortunately, my client had some health issues. And slipped through the cracks. He could have requested an extension, and he did not. He's back before the commission tonight, exact same application. Like I said, it's directly next to the landfill. We previously provided all the housekeeping with the notices and the sign posting, et cetera. It's a 5.3 acre site which was subdivided into 4 lots, as I stated. The 4 lots will be served by shared parking and access easements. There are 55 spaces are required, 60 spaces are proposed. It's bounded, like I said, down the north by the New Britain landfill, and on the south by Bill Ruby's garage. The buildings range from 3,606 to 9,000 square feet. It's ideal for small contractors, especially that are residential, in a non-conforming situation in a residential neighborhood. That's what we have tonight. Like I said, we had the rural wetlands application approved, so we try to move this forward so we can possibly even get the first building, the foundation constructed before weather gets too inclement.
Maureen, do you have any,
I think one thing I overlooked, and perhaps some of you can remember, or I'll pull it up as quickly as I can, is that some of the members here, I wanna make sure that whoever's seated on this was seated for the initial presentation, and so our new members weren't part of the commission yet at that point. So you should call who was seated and make sure you have a quorum of those seated members from the October 15th meeting, which I'll work to pull up those minutes to make sure. Or any of you that recall being here, all four of you
I
here?
was not here. I was here.
I was here.
I was,
Steve, you were here, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So you have four.
Four,
four, we got a quorum.
all right. So,
Maybe hand over to perhaps Diane, because she
because you
chaired
were
that
here.
meeting and.
Yeah, so you get to. So Diane, you're on.
Okay, well, so, this is a public hearing, right?
Yes.
So, is there anybody in the audience that, has any comments in favor of or opposition to this proposal?
The only person on video is our zoning officer, so in the audience.
Mr. Edge, I see you approaching the podium.
Adam said he
We
doesn't
couldn't be a
care.
planning and zoning meeting unless I was up here at some point. As Economic Development Director of Town of Berlin, as I had said previously, I will reiterate, this is a great project. I'm excited about it. As we move through COVID, I've realized the importance of contractors, manufacturers, and others, and what a vital part they play in our Berlin economy. This will be great. I have folks that come to me on a regular basis. We have no inventory in town for the types of businesses this will provide an opportunity to. I think it's great. New buildings, new taxes, new jobs, and potentially companies that'll soon call Berlin home, either for the first time or expand in town. So I'm 100% behind this, and looking forward to getting out the shovels for groundbreaking. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll see you again. Okay, are there any other comments either from anybody joining us online or in the audience in favor of or opposed to this application?
Madam Chairwoman, I have one letter that I have to read if there's anybody else.
Okay. Doesn't seem we do, so please read away.
Okay. Ms. Maureen Giusti, Acting Town Planner, Town of Berlin, 240 Kensington Road, Berlin, Connecticut. Reed Deming Road Business Park LLC Site Plan Application Special Permit. Dear Ms. Giusti, thank you for the notification of the public hearing for the Deming Road Business Park Site Plan and Special Permit scheduled for October 15, 2020. According to our records, the district has approved the site plan for sanitary sewer connection on March 7, 2014. However, the approval was issued over 6 years ago, and as such, we would like the applicant to resubmit drawing numbers D-1 and U-1 for district review and comment. In addition, prior to construction, the district will require the following. 1, please resubmit large-scale drawing number D-1, last revision number 5 dated 10/8/14, and large-scale drawing number U-1, last revision number 6 dated 1/19/15. 2, pump station flow design and shop drawings. 3, flow meter shop drawing submittal for district approval. 4, all work on the trunk sewer shall be performed in the presence of district contractor to provide 72 hours notice of any work scheduled to be performed on the district trunk sewer. And 5, the contractor to provide insurance coverage naming the district as additionally insured. When all items have been completed to the satisfaction of the district, approval to begin work on the trunk sewer will be issued. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, the Mattabasic District. Arthur G. Simonoyan, PE, Executive Director, C, Michelle Ryan, PE District Engineer Enclosures, 1 March 7th, 2014, Mattabesset District Approval Letter. 2, Deming Road Business Park Plans, Sheets B-1, S-1, G-1, U-1, and D-1 dated May 6, 2013. Mattabesset District, this is a new letter, Mattabesset District, New Britain, Berlin, Carmel Regional Sewer Authority, Brian W. Armat, March 7, 2014, Anthony J. Tranquillo, PE Project Manager, Frezet Zert, Jones Associates, 1755 Meriden Waterbury Road, Milldale, Connecticut, 0647670337, Reed Progressive Development, Deming Road, Berlin. Dear Mr. Tranquillo, the site plan dated May 6, 2013, revision number 4 dated March 4, 2014 for sewer connection to service parcel located to the west of 198 Deming Road has been approved by the Mattabesset District. Sincerely, the Mattabesset District. Brian W. Armet, PE Executive Director. Michelle Ryan, PE Mattabesset District. Art Simonian, PE Town of Berlin. Dan McLeon, Kensington Fire District. And then there's just a bunch of maps.
Maureen, anything else?
Just a comment from my original, staff report, which are up there, the comment, all conditions of approval should be carried forward from the 2015 approval. And as we stated, the first comment being that wetlands needed to approve, they did. And the conditions as noted by Mattabesset District. And the engineer.
And just so that we're clear for the record for Fran, right now the seated members on this topic are Steve Biella, Brian Rogan, Curtis Holtman, and myself. And so last chance, public hearing. Any comments for or opposed to?
Just to respond briefly to the Mattabesset, we have been in contact with Mattabesset, provided all those additional records. It's identical to the records that you looked at in 2013, 2014. We don't anticipate any issues. And correspondence accept all those issues.
Anybody have a motion to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? So the meeting. Thanks. And I'll turn it back to Joan.
Geez, thanks. Okay, next item we have is special site plan, special permit site plan application of Thomas O'Rourke Military Experience Museum for Military Experience Museum at 76 Chamberlain Highway. This was opened back in September 3rd of 2020. Okay, do we have anyone here to speak for the, oh, they are here. Okay, great. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Oh my, a lot of information.
There's a lot of pictures.
Okay.
So it answers, hopefully it'll help answer some of the questions that were asked at the previous one. Unfortunately, when I packed everything up, I left the comments that Maureen had provided. And so I have to, I have them on my computer though. After the last meeting, there were a lot of questions that came up. and there's clarification that was asked for. The big issue ended up being the site plan. They wanted, clarification. I'm sorry, do I need to, I'm allowed to start talking? I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to just start, I just,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, because we're just sort of, you've given us a lot of information, so.
okay. So the comments that I received from Maureen was a better site plan. So we did have a new site plan drawn up, which is the large piece of paper that is there. So one of the first staff comment and recommendations that we received was show compliance or obtain relief of the requirement for plan and zoning regulation 11P, which is for nonprofit, and that meaning that was at the way it's written, it says a nonprofit must own the property. And we are not going to be purchasing the property, we're going to be leasing the property from the Caravettas, who are the owners, they own both properties. So one of the questions on that, it does allow the commission to give us a waiver. Because if we do own it, it does come off the tax base, which would be about $11,000 a year for the town. And that I gave you the property listing report that shows just one of the properties. This is the largest one that we're the 58 acres. It shows $10,300 a year in property taxes is what they're currently paying. So that would be one of our requests, is being able to have a waiver of owning the property, especially since we're looking at a 2-year lease. With everything going on when we started this process, we didn't know this whole pandemic thing and the shutdowns and everything else that's coming into place. That being said, our overall goal in starting this museum in the field location was to see if it would work. We're trying something new, it's different, especially in this area, but it's not totally different. There is a museum down in, which I gave you a copy of, the American Wartime Museum, which is down in Virginia. It's a very similar concept where they have the landscapes of war. They have World War I, World War II. I apologize for dumping the packet on you like this, as in order to answer some of the questions that came up that are on here. The second one was a verification of soil scientists. We have talked to, I've had a soil scientist look at it. In order for me to get the report, honestly, it's going to cost several $1,000s. We can submit the report as part of what we would request is, with approval, that one of the conditions for approval be the soil scientist, which is part of the Wetlands Commission requirement anyway. But if we had if we were getting approval, then it would make sense for us to spend additional money on the wetlands report. Number 3, she had Maureen's staff recommendation was a 2-year lease. Commission should approve. Commission approve limit time to 1 to 2 years is appropriate. After such time as a new special permit, site plan review will be required. Again, we have no problem with that, as we're trying to put this forward to see if this is gonna be a viable entity as a nonprofit. With the Economic Times, we still feel that this is viable. We think that the outdoor recreation is actually a great thing going on right now, giving people somewhere to go, something to do. One of the other questions that came up, and I'll refer to the packet now, was one of the big issues that we received in the previous meeting was overflow parking. On our new site plan, we do show different parking than it was previously. There was concern about us being in the field. The site plan did change the parking and made it more clear as far as how many spaces and location. The question came up in the previous hearing as far as overflow parking. We have recently made an agreement, and that was actually one of the reasons we've been asking for extensions, is that we have made an agreement with the new mall owners that they will allow us to have a 10,000 square foot space inside the mall where we can set up the museum. And with that, we will also have access to their overflow parking. They have a 22 acre parcel at the corner of Kensington Avenue and Chamberlain Highway. The mall owns 22 acres there. There is a parking lot that hasn't been used for many years. It's overgrown, but it is paved. So we'd have access to that. We'd also have access to their additional overflow parking off of Chamberlain Highway. And then as a tenant, we have access to the mall parking as well.
Okay, can I just ask a question? So if I'm hearing you correctly, inside the mall, I imagine that you're talking about the old Meriden Square?
Yes.
Okay, you're proposing or thinking about putting a 10,000 square foot museum there. And then on this parcel of property here at Berlin, you want to put, it looks like an obstacle course or a fitness course. Is that what I'm hearing?
It'll have an obstacle course, it'll have an orienteering course, and it'll have what the other museum refers to as landscapes of war. So it'll have a replica of a Vietnam era fire base, World War II battlefield, and it would have modern buildings that can actually be moved around so that we can create different scenarios, different displays based on anniversaries of battles or of wars.
Can I ask a question? In the original September 3rd meeting, the MR1 is only zoned, you're saying there were gonna be temporary structures, and you specifically said there were gonna be cargo containers. I'm looking at some of these images here. I don't know what page number this is, but it's a picture of the town of Eastham, Massachusetts with a temporary library building. And this is your proposed version of staging. This really looks far different from a temporary cargo container that can move.
We could use a cargo container, but
Well, I'm asking you what you're going to use.
what we will use whatever is approved. If it's a cargo container that's approved, we'll use a cargo container. This is something that's been used at other towns as a temporary structure. Again, we're looking to not put in a permanent structure at this time until, again, maybe it's a two-year lease agreement, at the end of which time we would have to convert it over to an actual building.
And How many
Okay, I just wanna make sure that for the record, Fran, who's gonna be doing the minutes, knows that our Peter Zaragoza is the commissioner who is asking questions at this time of the applicant.
And how many participants are you expecting at these kind of events or field, so to speak?
It's a very difficult question to answer, as it hasn't been done before. What I can tell you is that the military museum that was in Danbury that did close, that museum, they had 10 parking spaces, and they had an overflow of 8 additional parking spaces in the restaurant next door. It was a different scenario, as it was what I call maybe a static museum.
Sure. So you don't have you can't answer the question as to how many participants you're even anticipating.
I would love to get 100 people on the weekends.
Okay. Well, I only ask because I know that you have the parking at the mall, and it notes that you're going to be using military transport vehicles and or buses to move them to the site. So I would imagine that you might be anticipating quite a number of people if you're using that site in anticipation to support this proposal.
We set that up because the commission at the previous meeting had asked what we would do with overflow. They didn't want it in the field, was our interpretation. So we wanted to provide an alternate location so that we could have overflow parking as what we seemed as was being requested of us.
Okay. And one more question, not necessarily the last, but what are you, I understand the proposal for the warlike scenario or warlike encampments with the previously mentioned cargo containers or whatever you plan on using or what's approved, the obstacle course, the orienteering course. But tell me more in detail about the mentions in your plan about the military simulation specifically. I know in the September 3rd meeting you had mentioned the use of airsoft guns, of possibly vehicles or military vehicles on the property. You couldn't answer if, I think you even mentioned a tank at one point, but couldn't give us an answer if the tank would be using a blank exploding shell or what have you. So I guess my question is, what is military simulation? Are you planning to use, are participants going to be using airsoft guns and other military paraphernalia and equipment on the property?
Yes, for the military simulation, we would utilize airsoft guns as replicas. As far as military vehicles and such, we would bring them on the property at times for events. One of the requests that we would have would be to be able to do military reenactments or living history. I have a couple people with me tonight that are actually experts in that. They participate. I don't actually participate in military reenactments.
Excuse me one moment, can I make a point of order for the meeting? I was able to just pull up and for the record, that the seated members of the commission on the September 3rd meeting, so that Fran has them for the record. Again, commission members can ask questions if they aren't seated, but we need to know who was seated at that meeting. That meeting, the public hearing was opened at that meeting. Chairman Beely was seated, Curtis Holtman, Diane Dorsey, Brian Rogan, Steve Woolman, Tim Zigmont, and Steve Biela Jr. left the meeting at 9:40. I can't read from here if you stayed for this item or not. I'm sure it's in the minutes, you probably speak to that. But I'm concerned with, the speakers with regard to the meeting.
Okay, so we should probably stay with the ones that were there at the time.
And
Third is we're
let the
continuing.
public comment, questions during the public comment portion of the meeting due to procedural issues.
Okay.
Also, for the record, as we get deeper into the matter of this item, I have a little bit of a public, notice concern in that staff had requested that the information be submitted to us prior to the meeting. You'll note you did not get anything in your staff reports with regard to this matter. We did not receive any of the information in advance as requested, for whether it be the planning and zoning staff analysis or routing it to the other departments for comment. And I would like that opportunity to look at the plans. But also we've had some public interest and calls to our office and had let them know that the matter would be, that we would be getting new information. And we get regular calls where we say, no, we don't have anything yet. We can't say whether it would be on a public hearing and on the item as previously. We always, we've been trying to post it as continued when we got that information from the applicant, but we didn't get that this time. So I'm just not sure we have the public that was interested in the matter available this evening.
Well,
And knowing that the public hearing is moving forward, that creates a procedural concern for me.
So,
Yeah.
if you don't mind,
Go
as I
ahead, Mr. Rogan.
hear and understand you, it sounds like the wisest option right now going forward would be to table this matter before going at any further depth into this public hearing so that the material that we got tonight can be made available to the public.
I think, I would recommend that, again, you guys make that decision, but that would be my recommendation. I'm concerned that
and also you haven't had a chance to look at
And-
it either.
right.
We're just we're trying to listen and look at the same time. It's not working. Diane?
Well, I agree, definitely, there's been a lot of material that has just been presented to us that I am definitely interested to hear the testimony that you're offering, and I can't hear your testimony and look at the package at the same time. And staff does need an opportunity to review it. I think though, for the sake of transparency and with respect to the point that you made, if the members of the commission, my understanding is anyway, if the newer members of the commission have familiarized themselves with the application by listening to the tapes of the meeting, they would be able to be seated for the remainder of the public hearing. Is that incorrect?
that would have to be put on the record that they listened to the entire transcript.
And so for the sake of transparency, because my memory isn't 100% right,
I don't.
for the sake of
It was a while
transparency,
ago.
I would ask our new commissioner if he was one to have testified at that public hearing.
I did.
So my suggestion might be that it would not be appropriate to sit on this matter.
I would argue
Only
under what notion?
predisposition,
Is that an ethical conflict?
yes. And so that's for you to consider, but I absolutely would encourage commissioners to listen to the tapes so that they can participate if they have not done so already. And I would ask that that we have the opportunity to table the discussion so we all have an opportunity to review the materials that have been provided and the staff has an opportunity also. Could we hear more while he's here though, or I mean, I
Irene, if you wanted
don't know if there's any questions specifically, Maureen, that.
No, I can't keep up with either.
Right, okay.
But presentation wise,
So, I mean,
it's
and
presentation.
You're the chair.
Oh, I know,
And they are
no, I agree,
available.
I agree.
I would argue if there's a concern about people wanting to be there that aren't here because they didn't know that materials weren't here, then having conversation about it without them here is a disadvantage to them.
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to decide at this point that I appreciate the information that's been provided to us, but in all fairness to the public and to the commissions, and for those who want to bring themselves up to speed, and for obviously our staff, I need time to look at this. And so I would ask that we actually would continue, and we would continue to perhaps the next meeting, which is going to be December
December
3rd. At least that would give us a chance to take in what we have here and give a chance for staff to react. I realize you're prepared to do this big presentation, but without us having the information ahead of time. I mean, we're just listening, and then as Maureen has pointed out, there was the public. That has been repeatedly patient through all the different meetings, trying to participate in the public meeting itself, the hearing. So with that, do we have a,
Does that mean the public can't say anything right now, or do I have to
That's-
the next meeting?
that it'll be going over to the next meeting because, and I did not want to do this to you, but we had no reason to believe that the applicant would be with us this evening. It wasn't until they appeared that,
So as a respect, he doesn't have to say that he's here or not, or doesn't know that need to admit 24 hours before
Well, the
information?
wait, oh, okay, all right, I'm
The
sorry.
materials should be submitted prior to the meeting so that they can be
Absolutely, I
made
agree.
available to you.
And then
Absolutely,
also
I
it
agree.
gives us a chance to review the processes for us to know what we're looking at so that we can think about it, about the application.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, but he couldn't, so there's no penalty for this, honestly? We are
Oh,
spending
okay,
24
okay,
hours.
I'm sorry, my staff would like to address
So
the commission.
procedurally, and maybe I can
Yeah,
take
take
this
that
off.
muffler off.
Procedurally, that new material can be submitted at a public hearing. And so it can be presented, it can be distributed. It does not have a requirement of the 24 hours prior to. If it is received 24 hours to, in accordance with the executive order that we have right now, that material gets posted on the website as much as practicable. It can be posted on, or should be posted on the website by the town. But materials can consistently come in the entire time the public hearing is open from both the applicant and the public at the meeting or before.
All right. At this point, Commissioner, the commission, how do we feel about that? I think that we should continue this to give us all a chance to look through it and have clearer heads and be proud of the stuff. Curtis? December 3rd.
I will make a motion to continue the public hearing until December 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Do we have
I
a
will
second? Okay, Ms. Dorsey, further discussion on the item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved. All right. Sorry, gentlemen, we'll see you on the 3rd. Under the old business, we have a re-subdivision application of Peter Bennerup for a 2-lot subdivision at 1829 Orchard Road, map 21-4, block 115, lot 10. Okay. Do we have any thoughts on this for the re-subdivision for the 2 lots
Just that I would restate it at this meeting, have to consider the split, because I think that the property as a whole is especially nice. The house itself on a 1-acre lot, it almost seems to be a disservice to that beautiful house. But the proposal is within what is allowed by regulations. And as long as there is no non-conformity, to the lot that's being proposed, I would make a motion to approve the proposal.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Biella. Okay. Further discussion? And all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? So moved. Congratulations, Pierre. But Diane is right, it is a sad thing to see. But good luck to you and happy Thanksgiving.
Hopefully the new buyers
Yeah.
like your garden and
Yeah, I
want
know,
to work.
hope so, they'll want to make a deal.
Hopefully they'll buy it.
Yeah, I hope so too. Good luck to you.
Well, I hope
See-
the couple will take my offer and continue the garden. I
That would
cannot
be
force
beautiful.
it to do that, but that was
Diane's got a
that was my
great idea. It could be a lovely inn.
Well, you know, that extra chunk on that back lot that you wanted to do as open space, an inn.
Or you can put one of those tiny houses everybody's talking
That's
about
not for
in
me.
the residential
Yeah.
property.
All right,
All right, thank you very much.
before we all run out.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, good Thanksgiving. Okay, up next is special permit. We're just gonna do the Richard Munson Deming Road Business Park. We are lumping 1 through 4 here all together. So I'm gonna hand this over to Diane.
Oh,
Yeah,
I forgot.
because this is your puppy.
Okay,
This is the one you
so,
get to sit with.
so again, clarification for the record, seated for this discussion is Steve Biella, Brian Rogan, Curtis Holtman, and myself. Is there a notion to make a motion on this application that was combined? We combined all items for this special permit site plan application. Does anybody have a notion?
I'll make a motion to approve
And
with staff
I'll
comments.
Approve with staff
Approve
comments
with
is the
staff
motion,
comments, yeah.
seconded by Curtis Holtman. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And I will give it back to you,
Thank you.
John.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, and then, what do we have? Okay, and then last item obviously has been tabled. Okay, or it's continued on to the next meeting, so we're done with that. There are just 2 really quick housekeeping. Thank you, Tim. We have the back of the packet, I think the supplemental packet, there is a calendar distribution for 2021. Just take a look at it, see if anything hops out, like special holidays or something we don't wanna get too close to. And just take a look at the calendar. And at next meeting, maybe we can have some feedback. If we wanna make any adjustments, now would be the time to do it. All right,
If I may,
Yeah,
that's
go
not,
ahead.
so on the September the 16th, which is what we decided last month, to continue with the 1st and the 3rd. Thursdays, the 16th is Yom Kippur. I put the possibility of bumping that a week. That's, look at your calendars, what have you, and your choice. Otherwise, the other meetings with holidays or the other months with holidays were some that you typically had, only one
Watch out.
meeting that month as well. And, I forgot the other thing I was gonna say about it.
I can't find my calendar now. Well, and be careful with the Berlin Fair too. We have to find out when the
true.
Berlin Fair is, cause that's a Thursday and there's a lot of people who participate with the fair.
Setup, yeah.
I should know that by next week. I'm sure that, that date will come up at when ZBA
If we're not
looks at their
still under
calendar on
COVID by then.
Tuesday.
So
Yes.
I'm so
whatever
sick
the
of this
middle
COVID.
weekend in September.
It's probably the one at the 16th, if not the one before it.
Yeah.
But they have moved it the last couple of times.
And, major holidays and stuff, we don't wanna get too close to like Thanksgiving or Christmas or.
Yeah,
we
there
usually
have
go
been
down-
years, you only did one in November and one in December, so, but that was when you were the 1st and the 4th, or the 2nd and the 4th, so the 4th was nixed by those 2 holidays, so, like they said, take a look at it, you don't
Yeah.
have to have a meeting every month, 2 meetings a month. You should in general have 2 meetings a month, and we can schedule special meetings if there is that's what I wanted to say, for the new members. We do have the flexibility that if we get close to a meeting and you determine that it's not working for more members, then it's not, they can be canceled, and special meetings can be posted, they just have different requirements for posting.
So the Lions Club has already published their dates for 2021, it's the 17th.
Okay, so, and that
That's
puts
if
us.
we approve it, right?
December, are we only coming the third of December?
No, there's 2 meetings this December, the 3rd and the 7th.
And but if, well, it depends what the load will be. I mean,
The 3rd right now is rather hefty with the military museum and 404 Berlin Turnpike, which 404 Berlin Turnpike is a large development.
who knows, maybe we won't be able to have this.
Question regarding the prior topic.
Okay, before we do that, let's have an adjournment.
Okay, you can discuss in very small groups, like 2 of you at a time, if you want to discuss
If we want-
before the entire commission or just with the chair.
All right, or,
I'm gonna stop this recording,
yeah,
or
let's,
rather you have to adjourn.
we have to.
I just want to put on the record that discussion outside the meeting is would result in
Yes,
a meeting.
that's-
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay, so
discussion
what
should be
we
in
wanna
front of
do
a
is-
meeting if so for adjournment.
Yeah, okay, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
Before we do that,
Yeah.
I just have one question,
Yeah.
regarding the uptick with COVID and, is there a discussion internally in the town hall about returning to remote meetings or?
There's been no decisions made. The commissions can make, at this point, are making basically their own decisions, although that could come at any moment. That's one of the reasons we've gotten I'm trying to get really versed at pulling up the plans so everybody can see them when you're
Done
working
very
at your
well.
computers at home. I will hope the resolution is better on your own computers than it has been tonight on this. Might be my angle, but
No, it looked good.
so yes, that is a possibility. There may be a possibility of cancellations in the next. And that we do have that allotment of additional days from the executive order for any matter that would have to be postponed because of that. And I want to give a shout out to Chris because that's one of the reasons he was here tonight with the number of items on the agenda. I asked him to please be the watchdog of the number of people in the room and where they were being, and if he had to send any
Oh, that's why he was
downstairs.
here.
And yeah. He didn't talk as much as usual, so he could send people downstairs to wait in the lobby if we needed them to. So we're trying to maintain the protocols for the number of people gathering. Pierre asked to sit in the front row.
Well, I have had a discussion with the town manager, just sort of briefly, and it was proposed that maybe we go back to the Zoom. The problem I have with it is that there's a continuity between the commission when we're here all together, when we can see the plans and see Maureen and get feedback. And I found that when we were doing the Zoom meetings and the conference calls, it was very difficult because it was hard to see if the commission had questions. Sometimes you have difficulty with phones and they couldn't understand what the commissioners were saying. So that's why I asked the town manager, I mean, we spent all this money on walls and masks and distancing and markers. We need to try to do right by the applicants and the commission and to make this as transparent as possible. I mean, obviously, there were some missteps when we were doing some stuff, but I mean, in the sort of technical difficulty, and there was that one meeting, it took 40 minutes for us to get the commission online.
Yeah. Worst
And it
case
was
scenario, I'd rather
horrible.
go back to the Board Act than not do
Oh.
in person.
This,
but I mean,
this room
this
is
is the
actually,
reason
it doesn't,
why-
the 2 rooms are equally, as long as you're spread out down there, the 2 rooms are being utilized by these 2 rooms are mostly both occupied on meeting nights by one commission or another, because we do have multiple commissions most evenings.
So we're gonna try to run with this format as long as we can.
I like it.
I mean,
Well,
these
and
things
hopefully
are
things
not
will
cheap.
slow down. I think they will. I mean, it's just a
Oh, I
little
think
spike.
so.
Worst case scenario, I'd always be willing to sacrifice myself and stay home.
And for the
Okay.
record, I
Take
wanna
one
make,
for the kipper, huh?
for the record, I wanna make sure that all the commission members are aware that the executive order does make the provision, and we've tried to do that throughout. If any of the commission members aren't comfortable coming in person, that's the, included in the reasoning, that it's not just for the public to be on, remote. Commission members can join remotely as well, so that everyone knows that is,
Alrighty,
Definitely something to be said for
for being in,
nonverbal communication.
well, yeah, so I can give you a dirty look
Anytime.
or look down this way, oh, look at him, this guy's Batman. What the hell? I
Safety
hope you don't
first.
drive like that.
I usually do, I usually drive like this.
What's
I
the,
might remind you.
what's the
of-
status
still
of
haven't
schools? Are
adjourned.
they doing hybrid?
I don't know, I
Because-
didn't get to that.
Because I'm thinking, maybe some commissions could meet in like McGee's auditorium.
That's a good point.
Oh, good heavens. Can you
I mean,
imagine
from
what
a
a nightmare?
stable-
Hello.
No, I mean, is that a good or a bad thing? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
What?
A lot of the K through 8s are still in session, a lot of the high schools are going hybrid.
Well, I think the idea would just be if we use an auditorium, would give us the 6 feet social distancing.
Right, but if there's a bunch of kids in there all day long that may be sick, that, we don't want that either.
I believe that's why it wasn't, and I believe that portion of why, cross-contamination was one of the reasons it wasn't really, considered, or at least not to my knowledge. The town manager and the mayor probably considered every option.
Yeah.
But that wasn't amongst the discussion with staff.
I just
That
threw
was
it out
my
there because I
logic,
know there's plenty of
was
room in there
their
to social
option.
distance.
And I will comment, in this room, before these were up, we held a conservation commission meeting up here because they were looking at plans to review for you guys, and they'd sat all over in this room, and I was up there with the plans,
Oh,
so they could see what was going on. So we
Yeah.
did use the bigger room like an auditorium.
Yeah.
So this,
Well, and now that the dividers are here, this is actually bigger than Board of Ed, as long as we can be closer.
right, we bit
Yeah.
more. But again, we're still bound by the limitations on the number of people in the room.
Yeah,
Total gathering for indoors.
and it is good to see the maps up there. That's really very, very helpful.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Oh, I love
all right,
Berlin got the best GIS in the state.
Okay,
so,
I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
please, we have a motion.
Oh,
Mr.
they should let
Marcy.
it go. Second.
We have a second,
I got
it's
the second.
9:01 according to the phone here. So, I mean, further discussion, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, yes.
Three quick things. One, as of noon today, Boss Grill is able to serve adult beverages with their food.
Are they open?
All right.
They are